What's up? What's up? What's up? Hope you guys are doing well. Um, I'm here doing another short post. Um, these are going to be short and sweet. These are sometimes going to be affirmation based, and sometimes they're going to be formatted, for providing some sort of wisdom or information that I found was important, to get out there. This is not just a channel for men, but it's predominantly helping, those who are interested in becoming divinely masculine. Likewise, for people who are just interested in knowing about the process of what it sort of looks like for different people. Um, about me, I am somebody who's been walking this journey. I do um, understand energy and frequencies and understand many forms of the religious structures that we operate in. I have operated within the structures of some, forms of Christianity. Um, I understand Judaism very well. Um, that is a part of some sort of DNA that I have. It's cultural as well, running down through my family. I actually do have, um, in my bloodline, Jewish ancestry. So um, more more important, we know that our line is, our last name is the Cohens and the Levites, so we're in the Levitical priesthood of some sort. But really, that doesn't matter in 2025. What matters is everybody taking care of their bodies, taking care of their minds and their spirit, and then allowing your soul to have a greater part in your journey so that you're less inclined to move about on the earth, misunderstanding your purpose and destiny, um, that it's not prescribed by the world and other people's notions of what you look like and who you are and what you're supposed to do based on race, culture, creed, and even sex, right? Orientation, all that. It's deeper than that. And so part of what I do and part of a lot of other people doing all over social media, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, is helping people understand different components of what it means to be healed and healthy and whole. So many different facets and so many things out there. There's not one thing that's going to resonate with everybody, but this approach, I believe, us having oneness with Yeshua, is a pretty safe approach, pretty clean. Um, there's no dogma, there's no religion, there's no have tos. You don't have to do anything, you don't have to say anything. Um, I believe Yeshua did come to share with us a way of life. I've taken every confession there is to take as a Christian. I've been baptized. So, everything that you do as a mainline Christian, I've done that. I've been to seminary. I finished that at a big school, that would be, reviewed as good or even better than any school in the world. Actually, I put my money on that. So I know what I'm talking about when it comes to Christianity, but I think what's more important is not the religious aspect of it, but Yeshua coming to show us how to relate to the Father, the Creator, the Source, that we can have oneness. I and the Father are one. If you see me, you've seen the Father. Well, you're seeing miracles, right? And then you're seeing healings, and you're seeing the divinity of Him. And then He's sharing with us that we can also have that. And then in the scriptures, He does say, I'll give you a gift through Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit. Well, some of us call it Reiki. Some people don't even say it. They just say energy, frequency, whatever. And some of those people that don't know anything about Yeshua, anything about the Creator, anything about church, or maybe a little bit, how could you not, right? But even those people, when they go in through maybe just honoring the mind of Christ, Christocentric approach of just um, saying to yourself, mind, body, and spirit, uh, be one with the Creator, be in unity, be in alignment, right? So that's why I do what I do. Now, the way I go about it is I've been noticing that we get more free when our emotions are energetically um, under our guise, under our control, right? When people can't get to us and cause us to be afraid or be angry or be bitter or feel hurt or whatever, those are natural emotions. So that's not the problem. The problem is that we're not operating at our highest self if we're operating out of those emotions purely, right? So divine masculinity and the superior man, where that comes in is I was reading this book and given to me by a friend, and she's, very adept in understanding energy and people and um, the psychoanalysis of of things. This woman I would consider a mentor. So her giving me this book meant a lot. So when I listened to it, listened to it open ears, and the guy's talking about energy and breath work and being able to hold the space for women, having your presence, knowing your purpose, doing everything with integrity, and then doing it with courage. Like a lot of things as a man, we don't do it with courage because we've been emotionally unstable. We've done certain things well, but when there's been certain fires, we've backed off certain things. So that's why confrontation, for instance, for certain men, it doesn't go well. Either we go too hard or we don't go at all, and we don't do anything, right? So our ancient wisdom is going to tell us, men, as the Proverbs even teaches man, walk with wisdom and restraint. Buddha, walk with equanimity, right? Detachment from impulses, making the right choice. Knowing what the right choice is. How do you know? Well, you would have to be in touch with a source or something that's connected with what's right in this world, right? To then be able to discern what's not right. Yeshua teaches inner purity, courage, love rooted in truth, right? Everything we say rooted in love, right? So the truth hurts sometimes, but when we understand the truth, the whole purpose is for us to be in connection with the source. And so even the Book of Enoch is talking about the weight of responsibility of knowing what's good and what's wrong. When we know those things, we know that certain things are going to put us in good relationship, and not everything we do we're completely sure on, but there are things that we do that we know, hands down. If I touch this or do that, then it takes me away from being the best person I can be. Um, so a man's mission must guide his life, is what Data talks about. Referring back to the way of the superior man. So he talks about being present, having inner stillness, having conscious awareness and emotional self-command, and that he introduces breath work in the book, which is awesome. Um, and tying in with our sages, Buddha would say the mind is everything, and what you think you become. Right. The psalmist says, "Be still and know that I am God." I am perfection. I am means Yod Vav, but we can also say we are or I am because we are connected to the essence of God or the creator. And that is where we draw our stillness from, meaning we trust the plan, we trust our purpose. So therein lies what's your foundation and what really calls your attention. You know what I'm saying? Is our attention called to by people that would not have our best interest in mind, right? And if that's the case, then they're calling our attention in a way that's not going to be for our best intention or for our best self, anyways, right? Or our highest timeline. So, I mean, the book, it brings in a lot of things, relationships, right? Who are you in relationship with and why? Sometimes people become a mirror. You know what I'm saying? And you have to reflect on the fact that you're suffering. We are suffering in this world sometimes. If you are going through a tough time, is it a part of your mission? Or the people that are you're connected with are you're going through a tough time because of them? Are they part of your mission? You have to really start to look within and understand that sometimes there's things in our life that don't match up with what we're supposed to be doing. We have to take stock. And it could be weekly, monthly, yearly, or sometimes it's really just checking in with yourself. And this is a daily thing, the practice of being a divinely masculine, directed man is that you're not just operating under like a subset of rules and doing things as a robot. You're checking in with self and understanding that there is a point to which you're doing in your life. There's a direction you're going in. But how you get there, sometimes we don't know. But as you're feeling it out, you want to understand that, you want to hold your presence. And if anything's trying to keep you from holding your presence, then that has to be something that has to be analyzed and maybe let go of, And so, certain men out there, obviously, they like the female gender, and that's also part of the book, is calling to attention the fact that a part of our manhood is actually being in relationship with women, and honoring our some of our genetic, proclivities, right? We want people to see us, you know what I'm saying? We want to operate in leadership without domination, we want to operate in presence without possession. There's a healthy polarity when we have women in our life, you know what I'm saying? They draw out our curiosity to love, or to love something, to be able to, um, create life or create energy, right? So women test us in beautiful ways. And I think jobs test us and work tests us, and everything's asking, what's our boundary, and what are we about? And are we afraid of failing? And if we are, why? All of life is just really showing us that essentially we want to be connected to the source. And there's things that are moving us away from the source, and there's things that are bringing us to the source, meaning things that we do and create actually help bring to mind, or bring into purview who God is and what our job is here. We see that, when people have a vocation or call, sometimes their call or vocation brings the best out in them, and they find their passion for life, and they end up having good lives and living productive lives. And every book you read about, for instance, business or whatever, or just being a good person, they talk about being philanthropic and, having some sort of God or some sort of higher power. So most of these people that are rich, they're doing the same thing that most of us are doing, in terms of, um, having an outlook, what I'm saying, on life and how to relate to the world, So being rich doesn't really prescribe happiness, but I will say there are some wealthy people that are healthy and happy. So really, what I'm getting at is saying is everybody's human. We want the same thing. We want to flourish. We want to have success in our life, and there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with expressing love and wanting to be intimate with your partner. The problem is being disconnected from the meaning of everything, and what it means emotionally. You know what I'm saying? Lack of mission might mean you're depressed, or being angry and bitter means you're emotionally not connected with all yourself, and something is difficult, for you to deal with, and it's not to say that we don't go through our life issues and we don't sort of figure things out along the way. We're not robots. Our bodies have dealt with a lot of energy. We've dealt with people that have tried to hurt us sometimes, some men. And then some men are, some of us are, living our best life, but still it is a test, because the world we live in uh, there are things that are simulated to catch our attention, catch our minds, to get our money, to, whatever. So we're being advertised to by a lot of things, and then by people we're being advertised to, because there's a lot of phony, fake people out there that are wanting attention or wanting to stand for something, or signify that they are something when they're not, or maybe they are that. But either way, people have energy, and they're putting that off. So as a divine masculine, you are creating boundaries within yourself by also uh, keeping stock and keeping check of all of your physical faculties, what's going on around you. For instance, if you're in a relationship and there's women at work that are putting off a lot of energy, you can block yourself off to that, first off, signifying your comfort level with your significant other, meaning how tight are you, and how tight are you with yourself? Do you feel like she's going to abandon you, or you're going to be abandoned, or you're not good enough? If any of those things come up, then you're already thinking that um, you don't measure up, and you might have to have an escape plan, or plan B, or whatever. Or the list can go on of just the major things that happen when you're not emotionally centered. The problem is, I guess, always the bottom line is just the decisions we make when we're not emotionally centered. Sometimes, so that's why, it's not the drugs, the alcohol. Yeah, sometimes, but really what happens is the decisions that break other people's hearts. You know what I'm saying? So if you're in a sort of relationship with somebody and you don't even know what kind of relationship it is, but you're in it and you've committed to something, you've spent some sort of time and you've made some sort of declarations like, hey, I like you, or your time is valuable, or we're hanging out. And, the moment you start talking to somebody else as a man, you're off base. You already put your energy out to be putting time into somebody else, a woman who's opening up her time. When a woman opens up time, it's a portal. Everything that a woman opens up, it's a doorway. Anytime a woman gives you, it's not like she has to give it to you, and period. And that's goes with friends too, men and women. Anybody who's spending time with you, they don't owe you anything, so people are not possessions, and neither are time. And so we shouldn't be energetic to feel like people are going to be away from us, or too close, or whatever. Our understanding has to then move into the divine sort of things, where we believe that nothing is coincidence, right? Or things are happening for a reason, and there is a timeline, right? We are different. The divine masculine is different than most men, because you're paying attention to other things. You are looking at the world, but you're a man refined by pressure, you know what I'm saying? But purpose is your compass instead, right? Presence is your power. Integrity becomes a foundation. You meet life with courage, not fear. You respond, you don't react. You lead with clarity and compassion. You pursue truth across every tradition. You don't matter because you want to know for yourself, right? And then even if you fall, you have a tough season, you get back up again. That's divine masculinity. And that's why I hopefully, this man press is something that you can, find encouragement in. So, like I said, it's short and sweet. We're here on, 20 minutes, and just recapping, purpose, presence, integrity, So, if you get a chance, like, subscribe, and share. If you guys want, email, check in, comment, ask for certain topics, and ask for prayers too. I do that. So, in the name of Yeshua, and in the creator and the source, and whoever's listening, whatever faith you're in, be blessed, and just know that you are on this journey. You found this podcast. You're listening to this because you're right where you're supposed to be, and you're right on time. So don't be pressed, but you press on. And this is the man press. So be well.